Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel for another review. Today we are talking about what is perhaps the biggest release of February this year, and that is Captain America: Brave New World, the fourth Captain America film and number 30-something in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of the biggest IPs in existence right now. Every time I review one of these, I feel like I'm obliged to let you know which previous MCU films you should watch or at least brush up your history on in order to prepare for this one. Surprisingly, I think the most important one when it comes to Brave New World might actually be 2008's The Incredible Hulk. Some of the reasons for which I will discuss in this review, and others I won't because I think they're more in spoiler territory, and this is a completely spoiler-free review. If it's in the trailer, I might vaguely touch on it, but if it's not explicitly shown to us, then I'm going to try to avoid talking about it. In Brave New World, we are no longer following Steve Rogers as Captain America. For the 5 of you who haven't seen Avengers Endgame, he retired to go live out the rest of his days with Peggy, so now we are following Sam Wilson, who picked up the mantle in the Falcon and Winter Soldier miniseries on Disney+, which I thought was pretty terrible. In the opening of this film, we see Thaddeus Ross, who was previously portrayed by William Hurt, who sadly passed away and is now replaced by Harrison Ford, has been elected as the President of the United States. He tries to mend things with the Avengers. He wants to bring Sam Wilson, aka Captain America, back under his wing, but after an apparent assassination attempt in the White House, that's not relevant to modern times at all. The two characters find themselves uncovering a plot that threatens international relations on a level that they haven't seen yet. Wow, I just came up with that synopsis on the fly, and it makes the movie sound much more consequential than it actually is. So yeah, this movie has a lot of connections to The Incredible Hulk. Not sure why they're pulling that over 15 years after that film came out. Sometimes I think the elements from that film actually overshadow the stuff that carries over from the Falcon and Winter Soldier miniseries, and there's even some plot points from Eternals that pop back up in here. I'm glad they're finally addressing some of that stuff, but it feels weird that they're shoehorning so much into this movie, and it's impossible to talk about it without mentioning the production hell that it went through. A lot of this is just rumored, so we don't know how much of it is true, but we do know that the character played by Giancarlo Esposito, the villain, was added completely after the first cut was shot, and rumor has it like 50 or 60% of this film is reshoots, and a lot of the original cut was scrapped. I'm just going to put this out there. If that were to be true, I wouldn't be surprised. Brave New World is a scattershot, incoherent mess that takes a lot of the political intrigue, the potential for this gritty, grounded, international espionage story, and flushes it right down the toilet. As much as I was not very excited for this movie, nor was I sold on any of the trailers, I do think the relationship between the government and enhanced individuals is very fascinating. Obviously, Captain America: Civil War and The Winter Soldier explored that much more thoroughly. And it's always shocking to me how bad the action can be in these films, as much money as Disney pours into their productions. But they hired the director of the Cloverfield Paradox to make this. I know, right? What a shocking revelation that may not have been a great idea. I don't personally have anything against Anthony Mackie. In fact, I've quite enjoyed him as the Falcon in this series, and I think he's like one of the longest running characters in the Marvel Universe. I like him, but I've never really thought that he had a leading presence, was hoping this movie would surprise me, and unfortunately I found him to be very flat. I think part of it is definitely the material that he's given just isn't very interesting. And my criticism isn't that he's not Steve Rogers, because you don't want him to be Steve Rogers. He's Sam Wilson. He's his own person. He may be Captain America, but as Ross says in the film, he's not the same person. The problem is I never felt like there was any attempt to take his character in a unique direction, exploring what it means for him to pick up this mantle and become this symbol for not only the US government, but also all of the American citizens. Granted, some of that was explored in the Falcon and Winter Soldier miniseries, which again, I just thought was terrible. And because Sam Wilson is now Captain America, we gotta have a new sidekick, a new Falcon, and they cast Danny Ramirez as this character. He's the comic relief, nothing else. I found him to be obnoxious, couldn't stand this guy. To my surprise, Harrison Ford actually seems like he's trying here. Not that I thought he was going to be bad necessarily, but he's filling a fairly sizable pair of shoes in the form of William Hurt, who I think was great as his character in the past. Look, Ford is like 82. I'm not going to judge him for phoning in some performances to get a quick paycheck. which is, I wouldn't have been surprised if he did that here, but he seems to genuinely care about this character, and I was surprised by the amount of energy that came from him. Likewise, the third act fight between Captain America and the Red Hulk was pretty awesome. I know, this is like the most grounded MCU movie in years, and here I am praising the big CGI finale. Honestly, the true standout from the cast is Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley. Excellent actor. He clocked into work, and I think he definitely plays the character that you can sympathize with the most. He's already had a very rough life, and now here he is being framed for the attempt on Ross's life. Plenty of other characters pop up that I'm not going to discuss because I think that's definitely spoiler territory. They aren't explicitly shown in the trailer, so I don't want to speak on it. And it's such a shame because there are so many moments, so many lines of dialogue that made me sit back and think, if there was a little more attention on this character or this subplot, I think the movie would be a lot more interesting and engaging. It does introduce a few things that no doubt will come into play in the future of the MCU, but a movie has to be more than just teasing the future. That's all they do nowadays. I think one of my biggest expectations, or at least one of my biggest desires for Brave New World, is that it would bring things not only to a more grounded level, but also emulate the tone of something like The Winter Soldier, which is one of the MCU's best. And it does try for that sometimes, but it does it so poorly that I would describe this as the made-for-TV version of The Winter Soldier with a big CGI fight at the end. There was an intriguing setup in the political realm, and it winds up just spelling things out to the audience at every turn. The build-up to Hydra's big coup in The Winter Soldier was extremely intricate and well crafted, and this just feels like things are happening left and right, characters coming and going scene by scene, and some of them you never see again throughout the rest of the film. I know I'm in the minority, but I can't believe the amount of hate something as bold, ambitious, and different as Eternals get when something like this exists. A pure carbon copy of other MCU movies, but done worse. 90% of the scenes in this movie have been done in this franchise before. This is just the made-for-TV version. It's just another incompetent, inconsequential entry in a dying brand. Perhaps I've been a little harsh on it. There are things that I liked in this movie. It's just, it feels so futile and pointless to highlight those good things when they're sandwiched into this incomprehensible plot. Meaningless scenes of exposition and things that are setting up future plot points without ever caring to actually develop an identity for itself. Let's give Captain America Brave New World 2 stars. As always, I encourage you guys to join me down in the comments and let me know what you think of Brave New World if you do see it. I see a lot of concerns that this movie won't make much money, and although I don't think it's going to make a massive profit or anything, people will definitely be seeing it. It's February, there's not much else that has a mainstream reach that's out right now. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Be sure to hit that like button as well as subscribe while you're at it. If you want more content like this, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.